right. So y'all, I think this is gonna be a separate upload. Just like, I don't know. I don't even know what I'm gonna title this and what I'm gonna call this. Like, Diary Entries of Z.
Someone once told me the grass is much greener on the other side.
Y'all, I know that I say this a lot in other videos, and I'm probably gonna keep saying it. I wanted to create my channel to break the stereotypical molds of medicine, right? I wanted to have a platform that shows that you can be successful and that you can achieve all the things that you want to achieve while still being authentically you. I think that medicine has these very strange standards and expectations that are rooted in a lot of problematic concepts, from racism to elitism to all the other isms you can think of, because it was just not an inclusive space for so long. And there are just so many problems with this field that are constantly being talked about and constantly being addressed and readdressed because resolutions have yet to come in 2023. And I'm not trying to paint myself as some like Malcolm X radicalist martyr of medicine. I am just a woman who just wants to live in her truth at all times. And y'all, sometimes it really feels impossible to do that. It feels so suffocating. Like sometimes I feel like I can't even breathe in this space. And a lot of it comes from like the social and unspoken pressures. So, for example, I don't want to have to monitor my mouth or like be hyper cognizant of how I dress or think about how I wear and style my hair, and oh my gosh, is my tone of voice scaring someone? Like I don't want to have to microanalyze my being because it might be disturbing someone else, even though I'm not doing anything to harm or attack them. My presence alone can feel disturbing to someone because, again, this space was not built to be as accommodating as a lot of programs like to say that they are. I'm well aware that me being a muscular, tattoo having, neck tattoo having, short buzz cut, blonde haired black woman ruffles feathers. I'm well aware of this because I've had classmates say things about me behind my back that I was later made aware of, but say things about me and have perceptions about me that were not positive simply because of my existence. And while I am a person who really doesn't care about stuff like that, when it comes consistently, and when it's supported by the very like framework of the field, it gets a little heavier. So I ended up having a conversation with somebody in one of the instructors of my school, and I really appreciated that we had this conversation. But essentially, the result of the conversation was I have to be more mindful of like the judgments that will be thrown against me. And it brought me back to the age-old saying that if you are black, you have to be twice as better. Good is never good enough. You have to be excellent at all times. And that reality is so miserable. It is almost like pulling me into like an existential crisis, and I don't know, it's just getting to me right now. So all of this kind of like spurred from this fact that last week, last week for my birthday, and I was absent from like the 5th to the 9th. I was gone. I had some other things, personal things going on as well, not just because of my birthday. I know that my vlog is gonna make it seem like I was just having the time of my life, but like that's not true. I had a lot of like mental and emotional burdens that week, and thank you to my friends who are able to support me through that. And I'm like trying not to tear up right now, but I just had like a lot going on, and I hadn't realized that the schedule for my clinical skills was readjusted. I didn't realize that they updated it, because they updated it during the week that I was absent, or the weekend, the extended weekend that I was absent. And so they changed the schedule, and I ended up missing my time slot. I thought that my time slot was at like 1:15. That's what I had wrote in my phone. And then I ended up like, oh my gosh, like what is this? Like, this is not what I had written in my calendar. If there was an update, I didn't get it. You know, what can we do about this? And ultimately, I did apologize for that happening. And it's because I understand that that looks bad. Right? It looks bad from like anybody's perspective, but it especially looks bad when you know that people have negative perceptions of you. It's like, oh God, something else for you to judge me over. And so I started having this kind of like panic, this like internal panic. And it was valid for me to have these feelings according to the conversation that I had with this instructor, because, you know, she kind of like echoed the sentiment of like, yeah, you know, like that isn't a good look. Like that is something that would be concerning to people who are already judging you unfairly. And y'all, it's like this, like, people often say this word a lot in my community, like the hidden curriculum, of where you have to teach Black students differently because there's another set of expectations underneath the ones that everybody else has to perform for. You know, not only do I have to do well in class, I also have to be cognizant and aware that there are secret assessments being made about me, you know, just for my appearance alone, as I said. And I hate that, right? I hate that a lot. That's why I said, like, I want to show up as my authentic self with the buzz cut and the tattoos and whatever else and my fashionable, you know, dressings. I want to be me in all forms. And sometimes I just feel like I can't. You know, I feel like it's just not allowed. And like the system is just like chewing me up and spitting me out every time that I try. And like, sometimes I be thinking like, you know what, dang, like maybe I should just like do a little less, be a little less. Maybe I'll regrow my hair out, or I need to wear wigs until it grows back out. Or maybe I just need to dye it black. Maybe I need to start covering up some of my tattoos. Maybe I need to tone down some of my outfits. Maybe I need to wear more plain clothing. And it's like, I come at this crossroads where I start to feel spiritually sick when I think of these things. Because I don't like that. I don't want to do that to myself. I don't want to have to show up as a version of me that I don't recognize. And like I said, I'm not trying to make myself like some medical martyr or like some Malcolm X of medicine. Like that's not what that is. But I just feel like that goes against the very principles that I have for myself, and that I express to other people and encourage other people, like my subscribers, like anybody who comes across my videos. I feel like it goes against everything that I feel passionate about. And like, I don't know, it's just like really exhausting sometimes, y'all. And like sometimes I wish that I didn't have the personality that I do. And sometimes I think like maybe if I did it, you know, things would go a lot easier for me. But then I know that that's not true. You know, like people will have an issue with you for anything. You could conform and hop and leap and bounce and jump how high as they ask, and they will still find fault in you. And so like, I know that that's a truth. And so sometimes I feel like, you know, if the end result is that I'm going to be jumping through hoops and going through all types of obstacles no matter what, why can't I go through them as myself? You know, because I do have friends, or let me not say friends, I do have colleagues and people that I know of who do a lot of conforming. They do a lot of like minding their tone of voice and minding how they say phrase, like how they speak. So code switching, right? They do a lot of those like cognizant, personal adjustments in order to better fit in or to appear less threatening and to like fit in more with the majority. And they will still be thrown under the bus at the first given opportunity. They will still be struggling. They are still not fully accepted in circles and spaces that just don't want to accept them. And I feel like, again, I come at this crossroads of like, so then why even do it? Why do it then? What is the point of being so hyper conscious of myself and watering down myself and diluting myself to fit into boxes that were never specified for me to fit? And I don't know, I just thought it was important for me to like come and kind of record this self-debate, this ethical existential crisis that I'm having right now, because I do think that these are things that we should talk about as people of color, right? Obviously, I'm sure that I have subscribers who are not persons of color, particularly Black people, like non-Black persons. But I also think it's important for other people to hear that this is the type of stuff that we have to think about and that we have to worry about, and that it is exhausting. And then sometimes I have these conversations with other Black people and they stare at me like I have 5 heads, right? Like not everybody wants to have these conversations, right? Not everybody is aware that they're making these adjustments to themselves or smalling themselves up to fit in. Some people, right? There are people who are like more extreme than me, right? Like I have some friends that are like living their best life wholeheartedly and like posting things that I wouldn't post and like, just doing everything under the sun that they want to do. And I love them for that. And it's just so interesting, I guess, to see like the spectrum of like how this affect this like under a microscope, under a magnifying glass effect has on like people in my community, particularly in spaces like medicine where like that magnifying glass is huge. And sometimes I be wanting to write about this, like in my essays, y'all, like I'll be wanting to write about this experience of like being Black in America, and then, specific to being Black in medicine, a Black female in medicine, and just how different it is. And just how like there are so many other things that like we don't address about this problem. It's not just the overt racism. It's not just the overt, lack of cultural humility. It's not the overt like density that people have sometimes. It's like subliminal messages to people of color, particularly Black people, that like, hey, you're abnormal. You are an other. You're going to be treated as an other until you make this, and this change. It's the way that we're looked at. It's the way that we're talked to. It's the way that we only get 1 strike when everybody else gets 10. It's stuff like that that is rooted in racism. It is rooted in bias. It is rooted in all of those larger buckets of social issues that we talk about, and that, again, programs love to say that they're combating actively. But it's like, it's a daily experience. It's a daily discomfort, and how much that has an effect on like our mental health. Like my mental health sometimes gets so low. I feel so drained and tired by just living and breathing. Because like I said, sometimes I feel like I can't even breathe. The fact that I'm profusely apologizing for an electronic mistake because I was so worried about like the perception that people had of me, while all I did was enjoy my time away from medicine for a couple of days. I enjoyed my birthday, my celebration of life. But no, I can't even get a break away because there's always something. There's always something going on with this field. There's always something due. There's always something to do. There's always something to study. And it's like, the minute you try to get away from that mold, the minute that you try to do stuff a little differently, is all of a sudden when the enemy is just like constantly beating me the hell up. And sometimes y'all, I do break. Sometimes y'all, I do fold. Sometimes y'all, like I said, I wish that I could just change myself and just be a little different. And I feel like it would be disingenuous not to capture these moments. You know, it would be so disingenuous of me to have a platform where I'm like, yeah, being my big, best, boldest self, beautiful, big Libra Z. You know what I mean? Like, it would be so disingenuous of me to have these uploads of just like, you can do it, positivity, yeah, and without showing you that like it's gonna be hard. You know, I still encourage y'all to do it. I still encourage you to live as the most authentic version of you, because at the end of the day, like, I love what I do, but it's not all that I do, and it's not all of who I am, and it's not going to be all of who you are. You know, like, it is a job, you know, it's a career, but careers end. You know, at the end of the day, once you're no longer a physician and you retire, you have to live with yourself. So it's like, were you living in a way that you can be proud of? That when all is said and done, you're like, yeah, I did, and I said, and I behaved, and I showed up, and I loved, and I made friendships, and I grew in all of the ways that I wanted to. And I think that sometimes I get scared that I won't, because of how much pressure I do feel like is unconsciously present when I try to. And like, obviously I feel a lot better now. Like, in the beginning I was like, but like now as I'm talking, and this is why I said my channel is so cathartic for me, it's so therapeutic for me, and I really hope that it does the same thing for those watching, because, you know, there's something freeing about talking about the reality that exists. You know, it is so exhausting pretending like it doesn't. It's exhausting, you know, pretending like those hidden things aren't occurring. And it's just like, when I get an opportunity to just lay them down and like reanalyze the facts, you know, I know that I'm not going to stop. So I know that like I'm going to keep going despite the backlash, right? Like, I'm still going to keep showing up despite, like, you know, the potential that somebody will have a negative opinion of me, and that negative opinion may have long lasting consequences, because I genuinely feel like I'm going to end up in the place that is meant for me, right? I would hate to end up in a space because I showed up as a version of myself that doesn't actually exist. Right? So it's not even like this space accepted me for who I was. It accepted me for what they wanted me to be. You know, I don't want to do that. And I've had that experience before. I was at like a very prestigious institution. I won't name drop it, but I was at like this nice institution that's like world renowned, and I was there for an internship, and I felt like over time they started to become disappointed that I wasn't the type of person that they thought I was. Or that they hoped that I would be. And they kept trying to like not so subtly get me to be more in line with what they wanted. And I quite literally remember telling them, as grateful as I am to be here, you should be just as grateful to have me. And I do firmly believe that. I firmly believe that no matter what program I enter into, whether it's for school or for an internship or competing for a scholarship or going into residency, that like I want to be accepted for who I actually am. And like, you shouldn't take me if like that's not the version that you want. If you truly desired me and appreciated me as a candidate, you wouldn't ask that of me. And so I know that like I said, I'm going to keep being my authentic self. I just wanted to come on here and tell y'all, like, it's hard sometimes. It's so hard sometimes. Especially when I feel like I'm one of the only ones. You know, I genuinely do feel like it's so hard for me to find other people who have like similar personalities to me, or like, you know, just show up and how they present some similar to me. I've only met like one or two people, and they don't even like live near me. They live like all the way in Florida, who I can say I'm like, yeah, you know, like evil twin, like we mirror each other. And like, that's sad, right? Like that's pretty sad. That there seems to be like one brand of success, like one brand of student that succeeds and that like has like an easier time. So yeah, I'm rambling now. But I wanted to just kind of have this like corner chit chat. I'm probably going to like update my channel intro, because I believe my channel intro is like med school. What is it? It's like people in medicine be like, or something like that. It was like the very, very first thing that I uploaded to this channel, and I'll put it somewhere on the screen. So I'll probably use this as like an updated version of that. Because yeah, I never want to lose sight of like why I created the channel in the first place, and like why I am so like stubborn and bullheaded about like what I think is right. So yeah, I'm gonna take myself onto the gym. I'm gonna drink my water. I'm gonna study my studies, and then I'm gonna rest at a time that is appropriate and convenient for me. I am going to reflect on some of the things that the instructor told me, just as like okay, there may be one or two things that I am willing to augment, or that I am willing to like get help with or be more mindful of, but it's not going to be anything that is core to my beliefs and core to who I am. So I think I just need some time to parse that out and really determine what those things are. And yeah, I hope that this was like enlightening for someone, and that maybe that this can be like a catalyst for somebody to, you know, think of their own journey, you know, write about in their own diary, reflect on in their own time, meditate over, because that's really the goal of any and everything that I upload. So yeah.